Sir, we are live now.
All right. Thank you, Vishal. So, namaskar, all. A very warm welcome to all our esteemed panelists, dignitaries, and attendees. Many thanks for being part of our 13th Foundation Day event and day-long deliberations. Today's day-long event has 6 dedicated panel discussions touching upon various stakeholders, let it be international bodies, government, corporate, and media houses. And current one is third in the row. And we look forward to listening to various ideas, experiences, and the best practices from industry leaders across sectors such as hospitality, retail, IT, banking, BPO, and others. We are working for providing employment and equal opportunity workplace support to PWDs, and we are really very thankful to our 1,000+ hiring partners for the same. And we extend this employment support through our 4-step strategy, wherein the first step is job mapping. Under job mapping, we explore suitable job roles for PWDs and think upon workplace solutions for them. We suggest the same to different corporate houses. Second is sensitization, so as to create an attitudinal inclusion within the organization and employees. Third is recruitment support, wherein we provide skilled PWD workforce to different corporate houses. And the fourth one is accessibility support, wherein we extend support for ensuring physical accessibility at basic and advanced levels as per the needs and requirement of the said corporate house. And this is all about us. We'll be listening more such initiatives and efforts by industry leaders in this session. And I once again thank everyone for your support and guidance on the behalf of entire Sarthak family. Thank you so much for joining us. And now I would request Sudhir sir to take this session ahead. And before that, I'd just like to quickly give a short introduction about Sudhir sir. Sudhir sir is our National Advisory Board member, and we are really very thankful to him for his continuous support to us in different spheres. He's an MD radiologist with 35 years of total experience in healthcare sector. His experience ranges from working for HCL Group company of medical equipment to heading the Department of Radiology, CT scan, MRI in a large hospital in Delhi, to being CEO of large hospitals in Delhi, to being co-founder and director of his company that runs 10 hospitals in Delhi and Haryana. He co-founded another online healthcare company in 2017, which works in the field of prevention of HIV, cervical cancer, and mental health. And he is closely associated with Sarthak for for many years as a board member. And he has sort of voluntarily taken premature retirement from his active medical practice to dedicate his life to social sector and especially to Sarthak. We are really very thankful to Sudhir sir. Over to you, Sudhir sir. Sir, you are on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Nishtha, for your kind introductory words. And good afternoon to everybody present in the panel, as well as attending the session. As I hope most of the people have taken their lunch, and it will be a little difficult to keep themselves, awake during this session. I don't know. Most of the times I usually get the afternoon sessions, the immediately post-lunch sessions to moderate. And but I'm very sure with the kind of interest that will be generated during this discussion from the esteemed panelists, with very experienced panelists who have been working with disabled people, we'll keep the interest on and we'll ensure that nobody sleeps. So. As we all know that Sarthak was founded in 2008, and today we are celebrating 13th Foundation Day of Sarthak. And during this 13 years, Sarthak has done tremendous job. Thanks to all the employment partners like you, which, as Nishtha was just mentioning, more than 1,000, approximately 1,500 partners. The funding partners, most of the funding partners are also employers. And of course, a very, very dedicated team of Sarthak, which includes all the people who are here, including Nishtha and Bhavna and Vishal and Barkha and everybody else. And approximately 150 people strong team. and a very illustrious group of advisory boards, including Dr. M.B. Atre, who's a Padma Bhushan and a management guru, Mr. Kalra, who has 40 years of experience, and after that he has been serving in various capacities for various social projects, including climate and disability. Mr. Love Verma, former Secretary, Government of India, uh, Mr. Ranjan Verma, Mr. Ranjan Chopra, and so many others. I mean, there is a list of them, and at least 10 of them are very, very actively working with Sarthak. And during this journey of 13 years, the major thrust with which the Sarthak Trust was started was the employment, was the self-dependence. That was the major focus for Dr. Agarwal when he started, because he had, during his years of struggle, he had seen this problem of livelihood and problem of dependence on others by for these disabled people. So that is the core, and that is the central theme, if I can say, of Sarthak, and that is what we are going to discuss. You guys, all of you who are present here as panelists, I'm really thankful that you guys are here to share your experience. And it is only because of people like you that Sarthak and other NGOs like us or other organizations like us have been able to create some difference. At least some hope has been created for the disabled people. So to start sharing your experience, I think it will be helpful not only for the first time employers, like when we interact with first time employers, there are a lot of apprehensions, and these apprehensions were there perhaps in everybody's mind in 2008 when Sarthak started working. And after that, a lot of roundtable conferences were taken up, and experienced people like you, they shared their experiences with new employers, the people, the company HR guys who wanted to, who were keen to take these people but were very apprehensive. So today again we are here at a much larger platform than a roundtable conference, and technology is of course helping us all to reach out to more and more people. So your experiences will definitely help the new employers. They will definitely help the disabled people who are listening to us, because that will generate a lot of confidence in their mind that there are so many people who understand our problems, who are ready to help, who are ready to handhold, and who are ready to take us through this journey of employment and self-dependence. And it will also help and other NGOs and our own people in Sarthak, because your understandings will clear many of our doubts, many of our will generate more thoughts in our minds, and we will be perhaps able to do our job much better, or plan the things in a better way, or perhaps redo and better up our curriculum so that we can do a better job and produce better employees, or guys who are worthy to be employed. So again, I really thank you very much for sparing time for today's this seminar. So to start with, I would call upon Shobha Ratna, who is head HR and training at Aditya Birla Group. And before she says, she speaks, I think I would like to just introduce her to the audience. Shobha Ratna ji is Chief Operating Officer, Head HR and Training at Aditya Birla Sun Life Insurance. And in this role, she drives the core operational processes in the life insurance business and human resource strategy at ABSLI, including talent management, talent development, compensations, and culture creation. She has led the diversity and inclusion practice at ABC and has been instrumental in laying the foundations of diversity and inclusion initiatives at ABC. Shobha ji holds a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from NIT Calicut and master's degree in personal management from Tata Institute of Social Sciences. So with this kind of rich qualifications and rich experience, we would love to hear from you, ma'am. Over to you, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sudhir. Thank you so much. Good afternoon to everybody. Before I begin, let me congratulate the entire team of Sarthak for completing 13 years. It is extremely inspiring to see the efforts that are being put to really get people with disability getting employed. And I see that about 22,000 people have been placed, which is outstanding across 15 states. So it's indeed a very, very noble and great initiative, and all power to the team, and may you continue to do so, and drive a lot more disability employment and empowerment. So congratulations once again, and really, really happy to be here and be part of this seminar and share my thoughts here. I think I mean, maybe I can, I probably will have a more corporate perspective of this. In my 25 years of experience, having worked across two organizations, I have not really worked across multiple organizations, having worked across two organizations, I can tell you that, diversity and inclusion has been a topic of interest, a topic of great deliberation, and a topic of great importance. And certainly I've seen this over the last 25 years since I've been working in the corporates, and more so now, and it has assumed a dimension of a completely different nature and proportion. So when I was looking at this subject in Aditya Birla Capital, some time back, and I know there is a lot of literature around this subject, and there is just a lot of there are a lot of people who talk about this. And when I was spending some time looking at this and try to really understand what is it that we need to get out of this, what is it that we need to focus upon, and how is it that we can leverage the strengths that we have in terms of diversity. And as I was doing that and spending some time going through research and all of that, and I think it's absolutely a no-brainer to say that diversity adds to the value, economic value add, whether it is financial impact, ROI, etc. I think those are done to that, and we all know that. But I think what we really miss as an organization is really the whole ecosystem and building the inclusion, which is really what the challenge is. So we will have, while diversity is the mix of different people, gender, different capabilities, physical disablement, etc. But it's really it's putting that mix to work is really what we need to focus upon. And that, what we call the inclusion, it's really that which is more important. And very often, and most organizations, including ours, we've been spending a lot of time getting the diversity mix right. And, all of us start with gender, and then we add more and more complexities to it. But I think that's important and very, very critical, given the fact that even there we are not as great. But I think the focus has to be on really making this mix to work. And I can share a little bit about what we as an organization are doing to really make sure that we get the mix as well as make this mix to work. Coming from a very corporate background, everything that we do is measured in numbers, everything that we do is measured in outcomes. I think that's a healthy practice. Not taking away from the fact that there is also a lot of social connotation to the whole thing, but certainly it helps us to sort of put a certain number, goal, target, and sort of move towards it. So as an organization, while we don't believe that diversity and inclusion will happen on its own, we do have some of our own targets. So we've started with putting some number to it, and and certainly I have studied the most successful organizations. Everybody starts with a certain number, and certainly we should do that. But I think what we are also doing in parallel, while we do have our number targets and we do have our ratios, and we also have identified certain goals and year milestones that we would like to get to by a certain time frame. But I think I would like to talk about the work that we are doing to really build the ecosystem and the mindset in the organization. So first of all, we have laid down our philosophy and our approach, which has been signed off right from the top downwards. Everybody understands that. I think that's the starting point. A policy or a principle or a philosophy we've created that very actively. Following that is, I think, of course, reinforcement. And I think I'll come to the physical disability in a bit, but once we sort of set out some policy or a framework or an approach or a philosophy, it's very, very important that we make sure that everybody understands it and lives by it. And I think that's the exercise that we do very, very, very aggressively across. Every employee who joins us is onboarded on this. There is regular reinforcement that happens across the leadership hierarchy. There are like sessions, conversations that we have on a regular basis so that we all understand and internalize this. That's the first. The second is in order to get to our numbers and goals and targets, we've identified a certain specific actions, and we've divided all our actions under 5 umbrellas, five focus areas. In terms of, first is in terms of getting people in, which is talent management. Second is around, giving people, the whole branding and communication part of it. Third is the infrastructure. Fourth is enabling policies. And fifth is careers. We've identified 5 key focus areas, which we will work upon in a very concentrated way so that we get to the number and goal and actually achieve the outcome that we want out of this. And when I say infrastructure and policies, I think it's very, very relevant. A lot of us believe that, we can get people in and everything will be fine, but we ought to adjust how we really look at people. For example, assessments, performance management processes, hiring people with disability. Do we have the infrastructure in place? What's the way in which we will address such people? What kind of roles will we want people to be in? I think a lot of that needs a little bit more detailing. So it's not just about putting a number and saying we'll get there, but to be able to create enablers to be able to get there. So I think that's the second activity that we are doing. We've also identified, and now let me come to the physically disabled and differentially abled workforce. We've identified a set of roles across all our businesses. So primarily Aditya Birla Capital is into financial services. And so we have a huge percentage of roles which are feet on street, sales driven roles. And there is equally about 30-40% roles which are at the corporate back office, which is largely speaking, servicing, processing, etc. So we've identified which roles need what type of talent, and we've given that mix and number to the functions so that we are able to target people. So again, hiring processes also need to be changed. So you cannot interview a guy with physical disability as in the same way as you are interviewing a normal guy. So we put HR processes around it, the training, development, communication processes. So we've identified the specific cohorts where we would look at different capabilities. We are also very clear where we cannot afford diversity. Or for example, when we talk about gender, we have clearly identified roles where we don't think women will be very comfortable doing such roles. And so we were very clear that, let's not do a bombarding of all the activities across the board, but really sharply identify roles and responsibilities where we believe what kind of diversity can come in. I would like to say that it's early days for us. We have put in a number of about 10% on a year-on-year basis, and I think we would be in the range of 4-5% as we speak. But very actively working on it. There's a high leadership buy-in and commitment to the whole thing. And I think from whatever little experiences that we've got, a couple of things that are very, very important in making this whole initiative successful is, I think, the way we look at failure and the way we look at performance. And while on one hand, inclusion talks about saying that everybody is equal, there is no bias and there is no discrimination. And I think that's the right thing to say when we talk about equal opportunity. But I think there is a dilemma in our minds around performance because, there are people who have different capabilities. Do we have a different performance yardstick or we don't? I think that's where we are, we are figuring out how to get that act right. And I think that's a topic and subject that it's still open. And I think the second thing, which is a critical success factor for us is, the whole mindset aspect. And I know I don't want to call it a lofty word called mindset, but I think when situations arise where we don't have a straightforward answer, we don't know how to deal with it. For example, we have very high talented, let's say, and I'll take the case of gender diversity to start with, very talented women.
We'll have to conclude in half a minute.
Yes, I will conclude. We have very high quality women who are unwilling to rotate, to relocate. Now, do we give them career growth, or do we sort of impact their career growth? I think these are the kind of dilemmas that we have. But I think if we are able to find an answer around how much flexibility we want and how much are we able to put policies in place around performance and around careers, I think we will be there. It's been a journey, fantastic, excellent, and we are working very, very aggressively to this. I would look for more ideas from the panel here to help us with this journey. But as an organization, diversity and inclusion is a top priority agenda for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. I think you have very elaborately included all the background activity that has to take place while hiring persons with disability, and what actually has to be done. And I think that is the main reason why these efforts of inclusion, they perform well at the corporate level, and why at some times they don't perform well if these things are not taken care of. Thank you very much for sharing your experience. Thank you. The next speaker is Ms. Aradhana Lal. She has joined us just now. So welcome, Aradhana ji.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. And for the field of inclusion of disabled people, Lemon Tree is, of course, a front runner. So I think it will be very, very nice and interesting to hear from you about the 14 years of experience of inclusion of PWDs, and and the great numbers, the number of especially the percentage of employees which you have in your organization. It will be really wonderful to listen from you. So before you start, I will just like to introduce you to those people at least who may not be knowing about you. Aradhana is a TEDx speaker and leads the brand and communication as well as the sustainability initiative at Lemon Tree Hotels, including environment and inclusion and diversity. And the company's strategy is to build an inclusive employee base and has been hiring employees with disabilities for 14 years. And the next sentence is really amazing. And the goal is to take this to 40%, to almost 40% by 2025-26. I think that is wonderful. I really want to congratulate Lemon Tree and yourself for that. Aradhana is an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad and has 28 years of experience in sales, marketing, corporate communications, and sustainability. She was earlier Vice President, Sales and Marketing in Lemon Tree. Aradhana was previously Sales and Operational Head at Hindustan Liver Network, formerly known as Avians, and multi-level marketing business of Hindustan Liver. Prior to that, Aradhana was with Taj Group of Hotels. With such rich, diverse experience, I think, and this experience, as I just talked, of inclusivity. Over to you, Aradhana.
Thank you so much, Sudhir, and nice to follow Shobha and listen to what they're doing at their group. So many of you on this forum, I think, are familiar with Lemon Tree Hotels, but I'll just recap in case you're not. So today we have 84 hotels and we are in 52 destinations. 2 of these destinations are outside India. There's Dubai and there's Bhutan. The rest of them are all in India. The inventory is about 8,300 rooms. And our total employee strength is between 5,000 and 6,000. During the COVID year, there have been some changes. People have moved on and so on. Now coming to we are, all our hotels are in the mid-market space, which means 3-star hotels and 4-star hotels. Many of our hotels are focused on business travelers, but we also have some leisure destinations. So we have a mix of hotels, business and leisure. Now coming to the inclusion work. We started this in 2007. It's a 14-year journey. Today, 16 to 17% of our employee base is either a person with disability or a person from an economically or socially marginalized background. So there are 2 segments we pursue, in this whole idea of inclusion. One is employees with disability, and one is employees from economic and socially marginalized backgrounds. I want to tell you what are the sub-segments? In disability, we work with deaf or SHI. We work with orthopedic handicap or locomotor disability. It could be partial or it could be a wheelchair user. We work with low vision. We also hire people with intellectual challenges. So people with IDD, Down syndrome, slow learner, mild MR, and also those who are autistic. In the last 3 years or so, we started work with acid survivors. So that's a new segment that we entered. And we're doing some experiments with special learning disability as well. These are all the disability segments. Looking at the economically and socially marginalized, we work with people below poverty line. We work with divorcees, widows, abandoned women. We also hire orphans and abandoned girls. In fact, in Delhi, we have a project with the Delhi government. We started work with transgender. It's new work, but we're going to increase it in the future. And we focus on people who are school dropouts. That means that they were not able to study beyond class 9. So we come up with appropriate roles for them and we train them. So these are all the segments we pursue, and in total they account for 16 to 17% of our employee base. What's interesting is that we've done a very elaborate process of job mapping. Now the process of job mapping is essential, and I think Shobha ji also referred to it, where you look at every department and every role and all the tasks a person has to do, and then you map it against the disability. So suppose I'm looking at the role of a person at the front office, or I'm looking at the role of a person in the coffee shop, a guest service associate in the coffee shop. Or maybe I am examining the housekeeping role, the person called a room boy who works on the floors and cleans the rooms. Now for every disability, when I look at it for deaf, when I look at it for orthopedic handicap, when I consider it for autism, for every disability, we will do a separate job mapping where our NGO partner, including Sarthak has done work with us, will come and examine and observe how are these tasks being done and how does a person without disability do them. Then they have to understand what are the physical requirements and what are the decision-making and intellectual requirements. And accordingly, we can arrive at a conclusion that role 1 is suitable for deaf and autistic, role 2 is suitable for Down syndrome and deaf. So, accordingly, we can arrive at that conclusion and then we can hire people. So this step of job mapping is very, very crucial. In fact, we have a whole inclusion model which has 7 steps in it. Maybe I can talk about it more a little later in the conversation. Then we've been able to hire people across departments. So we have people in front office, food and beverage, housekeeping, engineering, finance, HR, sales, across everything. Now, with respect to education, this is an important question people with disability may ask us. Some of these roles require a greater amount of education. So they need to be a bachelor, holder of a bachelor's degree, like in finance or HR. You must have that relevant education. But if you're in housekeeping or food and beverage service or food and beverage production, you don't need to have your college degree doesn't need to be completed. Maybe you're possibly even not even completed school. It's all right. We can find certain roles where the education will not matter. What will matter is the way we train you and skill you to perform that function. So educational illiteracy does not mean functional illiteracy. This is something important to keep in mind. So we work that out role by role and level by level, basically. What we find very important in our journey is training. So I'll just speak of it for a minute, then I'll stop. Training is essential for anybody in a company. It doesn't matter whether you are with disability or without. But if you want to bring in people with disability, firstly, you must have an open mind, naturally. But secondly, it's important to train them in the manner that they can best receive that training. So what I mean is, if I'm training a room boy who's deaf, I cannot have my normal training session where the trainer is speaking and there's a video with the audio sound and all that. It will not help. So I must have a trainer who uses Indian Sign Language, and I can see in this session there's a sign language interpreter. So it's important for us as a company to keep Indian Sign Language interpreters as part of our training team and to also bring them in whenever extras are required. In the case of autism, we'll have to simplify the way in which we give the information. In the case of Down syndrome, you can't teach too much in a classroom. You have to teach them on the job through role playing. So these are the ways in which we must focus our training as per that disability, so that they can understand what their role is, they know what their tasks are, and they can perform. See, if we keep hiring people, Sudhir ji mentioned we want to go to a target of 40% for all, disability and economically and socially weak. If we want to do that, we cannot bring people in who don't contribute. It'll make them frustrated. It'll make the colleagues frustrated, because imagine the colleague has to double up and do this person's work. Cannot happen. And certainly the manager will be the most frustrated, saying, how do I run my department? How do I run my hotel? So training a person in the way that he can understand is very, very essential. I'll stop here.
Thank you, Aradhana ji. I think your experience definitely, expresses in your talk, and I know you can go on for hours.
Yes.
On this topic.
I'm deliberately stopping. Yes.
Yeah, I know. So, but I think that the important points of job mapping, training, and ensuring that there are performers, there are not parasites. So that is the basic, I think, the crux, and that is what Sarthak believes, and Sarthak has always been talking, that it is not a charity which you have to do while you are hiring.
Correct.
A business proposal that you have to create. So that is what brings the dignity in the job, which is the most important thing, because we are creating, or we are planning for this self-dependence of disabled people, for their, not only for their livelihood, but also for their dignity, which is the most important thing. So thank you very much for bringing in these very, very important points. We'll come back to you again. Now I would request Mr. Siddharthan Muthuraj, who is from Reliance Retails. Reliance has been another employer who have been doing great, and their numbers have, I think, crossed thousands now across India. But we will actually hear the right numbers and right things from Mr. Siddharthan. So just a few words about Mr. Siddharthan. He's an HR professional with 25 years of experience across manufacturing, supply chain, QSR, automobiles, and retail, with a large period spent in retail, that is 19 years. Worked with brands like McDonald's, Shoppers Stop, Jubilant Retail, Landmark, and now with Reliance. Extensively worked with many NGOs, including Leonard Cheshire Association for People with Disability, etc., in the last 15 years. Inducted the first batch of differently abled way back in 2008 in Hypercity as cashiers and stock taking team members. So this is a very, very rich experience, especially the experience which comes from both sides of the table. From the NGO side, as well as although they are working for the same goal, NGOs as well as the corporate. So I would like to ask you, Mr. Siddharthan, to deliberate upon that how Reliance is building an ecosystem for creating win-win situation for disability inclusion. So so that it is good for everybody. So please.
Very good afternoon to everyone, and thank you, Sudhirji, for taking the effort to introduce me to the panel. Without wanting to deliberate more time on the importance of diversity and inclusion, as well as the kind of importance required to build up the entire infra, as well as the policy around this whole system, because it's been enough deliberated by Shobhaji as well as Aradhanaji. Okay, I guess that's the same kind of importance that is given within the whole of Reliance system at this point of time. And Reliance Retail specifically, if I were to be discussing upon, that's where I come from. Yeah, the entire ecosystem has been built very, very aggressively to a level where we have actually have this entire plan built into our AOP of each of the verticals of Reliance Retail, be it the value system, be it Reliance Trends, be it Reliance Digital. Every vertical, as part of the entire AOP plan, we build up and bake in these numbers to ensure that we are focusing on these numbers through the whole year. And we have targets set for each of the business. And over and above that, we also ensure that on a monthly basis, we review each of these targets and these numbers. Yeah, so that the entire system that has been developed is driven through each of these plans that we have put in place. One of the big things that we have come up, and it's been now 2 years that we've been very, very successfully running a program called V, WEV. And this has been the machinery through which we've been driving this entire program across the system. We actually is the whole diversity inclusion program, where we are not only talking of people with disabilities, but it also has verticals for women empowerment, LGBTQ, and so on and so forth. So when we here specifically talk about the people with disability, there is quite a few initiatives that has come across various verticals, and they themselves drive it on their own over there. Now, this whole program is driven by Ms. Isha Ambani herself, and she chairs every meeting without giving it a miss at any point of time. And then we also have representatives, which are the steering committee across all formats, being part of this group, so that every vertical has given enough importance and gets driven in every vertical, and ensures that this program gets the due importance, and we are not able to miss the targets that we have set for ourselves. In fact, as part of this whole steering committee, we have 44 members from each of the divisions, all divisions put together. We have 44 people who are representing this group and drives this whole program. We have every, like for example, we have our the value format, which is the Reliance Fresh and the Reliance grocery vertical. This vertical actually has been one pioneers who've been driving this program in a very, very strong way. We have a program called Saksham, which specifically with reference to people with disability, okay, where this program is driven extensively, and through this they themselves alone, this vertical alone has around 1,800 people who's deployed in various stores across the whole business. Against Reliance Trends has a number of around 480 odd people at this point of time as we are talking. In fact, very unfortunately, we actually had about in Reliance Trends had about 1,260 odd people, but during the pandemic time, I think we lost quite a few members who actually went back and decided not to return back. But then again, we are revamping this whole number to the original number that is pre-pandemic in another 4 to 6 months time. So this is how this whole thing has been put up, and we have built up this entire ecosystem. And this entire ecosystem also includes, where we are talking of capturing success stories of all the staff who are differently abled in our monthly magazine, so that we keep the momentum on. We also ensure that they are also highly motivated and being recognized in the whole system, which is very, very important, so that we not only showcase that they are part of a team, but also to ensure that these are also the people who are equally contributing to the entire business as any other people would be contributing. So this magazine is something that reaches the entire 130,000 people across the system that we carry today. Yeah, we also have a store manager training program. So anytime and every time when we have a person who's disabled in any way is inducted into a particular store, be it the operational store or a new store that is getting opened, the store manager is first and foremost, sensitized to the entire disability that the person is going to be coming up with. Very importantly, nearly every store manager where people with speech and hearing impaired is inducted, the store manager is first trained in the sign languages, and then only the staff is then inducted. As part of the plan also, what we do is that we ensure that every store does not have a person going in. It has to be at least a minimum 2 to 3 people in each of the stores that they go in over there, so that there is not I alone syndrome that's forming in over there. Yeah, we have a team of people. There is a support, there is an emotional support, there is a physical support being enabled, and then the rest of the team is also sensitized before the people are getting introduced into this place. Along with that, Jio as a business is now working on an application, especially for hearing and speech impaired people, so that they are able to interact with this app for their own learning, yeah, and their own way of finding their way around this organization in various ways. So this is the kind of entire ecosystem currently that has been set up over here at this point. Okay, and that's from my end, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Siddharthan. I think Reliance is doing a wonderful job again, and the way you have told the things in detail, again the same story repeats of of taking very, very specific and personal care of these people. and ensuring that they are put into a comfortable situation, but at the same time remain as performers and come out as performers. So thank you very much. I'll of course come back to you. Now we have the next speaker from StarTech, Ms. Priyanka Mohanty. She is the Vice President, Global Corporate HR and Global Diversity Inclusion at StarTech. Ms. Priyanka Mohanty is Vice President HR. Just a second. You have so much. You have accomplished so much in such a short period. I think we have. I'm feeling like I'm reading a celebrity kind of a CV. So Priyanka has been a champion for her company about diversity and inclusion. She is extremely passionate about the cause of diversity and inclusion and has enabled empowerment of persons with disability, and has also worked in the areas of gender inclusivity. She is highly instrumental in the company being conferred with multiple awards from Government of India, from SHM, and other organizations. She has been herself conferred with the Women HR Leader of the Year by Business World, Best Diversity and Inclusion Head by Women's Leadership Forum of Asia, Women's Achievers Award by SHM, and HR 40 under 40 by Jombe, and so many other achievements like that. So Priyanka, with your kind of an experience, so much, especially on this diversity and inclusion, I would like to ask you that StarTech has multiple accolades now, as we have just listened to, and please elaborate on your multidimensional model of diversity and inclusion that has been adopted at StarTech.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta, and good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, let me congratulate Dr. Jitendra Agarwal and the entire Sarthak team for achieving such an incredible milestone. And on this auspicious occasion of Guru Purnima, I am very happy to say that when we embarked on the journey of diversity and inclusion almost a decade ago in 2010, Sarthak was, I can say that one of our gurus who have helped us in hiring and in empowering persons with disabilities. So I'll just give you a brief about StarTech. StarTech is into a business process outsourcing, and we have a very healthy and a strong workforce of around 47,000 people spread across 13 countries and 46 global locations. So we actually embarked on this journey almost in 2010. And when we started this journey, we embarked with this multi-dimensional model of diversity, which we call as the hexagonal model of diversity and inclusion. So the 6 facets that our D&I framework comprises of starts with the most significant one, which is persons with disabilities. Second is gender inclusivity. In fact, we are very happy to say that we have crossed the 50-50 ratio. We are now 48:52, where 48 is the males and 52 ratio in the females. So this happened last month itself. Then there are other factors, of course, like socially and economically disadvantaged, where 35% of our workforce comprises of socially and economically disadvantaged population. Then we have mature age people, which is a generational diversity. Considering that 90% of our population belong to the millennial age group. Then, of course, we have culturally and linguistically diverse and indigenous population. But today, I will probably limit my discussion to when we started hiring of persons with disabilities. In fact, I remember in 2010, when we started this journey, there were 4 key challenges, that we encountered. And that's when I would say we really looked up to Sarthak to help us with this. The first and foremost was availability of employable population of persons with disabilities. The second was accessibility at the workplace. The third was, of course, the unconscious bias, which is your societal and your cultural misnomers that, persons with disabilities, they will be less productive, they will have higher absenteeism, or their peer group might have to perform double their work. So these were all the biases that we had to deal with. And fourth challenge that was there, of course, is a lot of people were unaware of the government support and the business advantage that persons with disabilities bring to the workplace. So we were very clear from the beginning that for us, diversity and inclusion is not a nice to have phenomenon, but it is a pure business necessity, and it will give us competitive advantage. And over the past 10 years, if I look at our journey, it has definitely been a competitive advantage to us. So of course, the 4 challenges that I spoke of, we created 5 clear enablers, what we call as diversity and inclusion enablers, to attack these challenges. So the first enabler, of course, is leadership commitment. We were very clear it starts from the top. Our executive chairman and global CEO, he was the executive sponsor of this diversity and inclusion journey. Our global CPO, he was the organizational change agent. And we had diversity managers across each of the 46 global locations. So leadership commitment, when I say, it's not just, so it's about walking the talk. So he went ahead and we actually signed, we are part of the hashtag Valuable 500, which is an attempt to bring the CEOs of 500 organizations together so that they can bring disability into the boardroom. So when our CEO went ahead and signed this story was cascaded across our organization. So that's how we walk the talk. Then he went ahead and he signed the UN Women Empowerment Principles also. So we are a signatory to that also. So when it comes from the top, it really becomes easy. Last year, when our Global Chief People Officer, he was recognized by NCPTP Helen Keller as role model for employer of persons with disabilities. This story was something that we cascaded throughout, not only internally within the organization, but also to our clients, to our suppliers, to our vendors, partners, because ultimately we cannot work in silos. That if we cannot focus diversity and inclusion just within our organization, we have to do some community outreach in order to make it more sustainable. So that's the first enabler, that leadership commitment. The second enabler is your targets, organizational structure, and policies. If we do not have clear targets around these 6 facets, the journey will start, but there is nothing that we can get out of it. So we clearly said that when we hire persons with disabilities, 1.5% of our global workforce will comprise of persons with disabilities, and that will be around 750 people. So at any given point in time, if you see, look at our organization statistics, we have more than 550 persons with disabilities employed, not only in India, but all over these 13 countries. And we track this very, very rigorously. These all are embedded in the goal sheets of all the managers, which not only include the HR managers, but also the line managers. Then, of course, all the processes and the policies had to be looked at when we started this journey. Apart from that, the organization structure was actually modified to include diversity champions who will run these projects worldwide for us. The third enabler, and I think that is one of the most important enablers that that time we designed, and it's still continuing, is the enhanced communication and awareness. Extensive communication and sensitization was mandatory, is mandatory, and it still continues the way it is. So when we talk of initiatives regarding PWDs, it is not just limited to celebrating World Disability Day or for that matter anything, but it involves making people our brand ambassadors, making all the 550 persons with disabilities our brand ambassadors. So, for example, in February this year, when CNBC featured us as a change maker series for hiring persons with disabilities, we actually made our persons with disabilities go there, and we got them featured in that story. So everybody knows that yes, these are the people working with us. Then there's a lot of literature that, for example, I think a couple of years back, we had issued a book called Asha and the Hope. So Asha and the Hope talked of stories not only of persons with disabilities within the organization, but we took testimonials from their families as well. So we reached out to their families, to their supervisors, so parents, mother, father, brother, sister, everybody. We took their testimonials and we circulated this book across all the 46 global locations, not only internally, but outside as well. Then, yeah.
We'll have to conclude in another 30 seconds.
Sure. The fourth enabler is, of course, the budget allocation for accessibility, because we keep hiring PWDs without giving them any assistance in accommodation, it won't help. So budget allocation is one. And last but not the least, the enabler that we have is assessment and refinement of these initiatives, which is, of course, there is something called the Diversity DNA Scan Survey. And if time permits, later I will talk about it. But that is something where we assess and we monitor our initiatives so that we have made this journey sustainable over a period of 10 years. That's all from my end.
Thank you very much, Priyanka ji. your flow and your internal energy that is coming out on this topic is a testimony to your experience and your real, getting your hands dirty into the game. So it is really, I mean, I was not really feeling good to stop you. You were flowing in such a flow. And the points that you have mentioned about the leadership commitment, I think that is the key. It has to flow from upwards downwards. So, and the second point, the community outreach you said, I mean, in the form of the other people around your company or around your business, like your vendors or other stakeholders. So it is very, very important not to keep the change to yourself, but also ensure, because this is ultimately whatever you're doing is for the whole society. I mean, this inclusiveness has to percolate down. Otherwise, there is no fun. I mean, big, I know, some small silos in companies like Lemon Tree or StarTech or Aditya Birla will happen, but otherwise, the whole society will not really change. And the third important point you mentioned was about the champions in the hierarchies. That is also, of course, very, very important. Without that, I don't think this diversity, especially for the disabled people, can really work. And you, of course, mentioned about conducting regular sensitization workshops. So thank you very much for sharing your experience. I'm sure we'll keep some little time for coming back to you again. Our next speaker, thank you very much, Priyanka ji. So next speaker is Mr. Vinay Jaiswal. Mr. Vinay Jaiswal is from IHG. He's Director of Human Resource Southwest Asia, IHG. So welcome, Vinay ji. I'm sure we will definitely learn a lot from your experience, because I personally have made some presentations at IHG, and we have seen the enthusiasm that your company and you show towards this specific area. So introducing Vinay ji, he's a senior HR leader with rich experience in business building, cultural transformation, and he has successfully anchored HR initiatives in the area of organizational development, business restructuring, talent management, shared services, succession planning, in various sectors like telecom, BFSI, education, aviation, and hospitality industry. Prior to this, Vinay has worked with Indigo, India's largest airlines, as we all know. And previously, Vinay has served the nation as Major Defense Instructor, Major in Army, Troops Commander from 1992 to 2004 as at Indian Army, and started his new innings with corporate as HR leader with Hughes Communications in 2005. And after that, he has worked with companies like Aviva Life, Exceeds Education, and Interglobe Group. He's an alumnus of NDA Khadakwasla and XLRI Jamshedpur. So Vinayji, with your kind of rich experience, conducting present scenario, hospitality sector is the hardest hit in COVID-19. How HG is ensuring disability diversity inclusion globally? And further, what strategies followed at IHG to ensure an accessible workplace for persons with disability?
Good afternoon, Dr. Gupta, and thank you, everyone, and good afternoon to everyone on the call. Firstly, congratulations to Sarthak for the 13th anniversary, and here's wishing them many, many more. We are doing a human service in this area, and we actively look forward to partnering with them to create new chapters around diversity and inclusions in our particular sector. So I think there was a long introduction given by by Dr. Gupta, but I can tell you, having served the army for almost 13 years and then last 17 years in the corporate, one thing which I learned from the army was, irrespective of whether you're in the field or in the peace or during Kargil operations, never leave a mate behind, and that pretty much sums up our principles, our value systems when it comes to differently built colleagues. I think my fellow panelists have said enough and more with respect to the corporate necessity of having diversity and inclusion as part of the business agenda, whether it is a business necessity or a competitive advantage. Um, that's pretty much what is there in most of the companies, whether it is Indian companies or global companies. So just for the uninitiated, Intercontinental Hotel Group, IG, is one of the 3 leading global hotel companies. We have about 6,000 hotels almost globally, and almost 1 million employees globally. In India, we have about 44 odd hotels which are getting opened up, and roughly around, as Aradhana said, about 5,000 employees. The strength has gone down because of COVID and things like that. I think one of the panelists said very rightly, it has to begin from top, and leadership commitment is something which has to come. I think Dr. Gupta also said just a few minutes back. And just to give you a little bit of a background, if you go to IHG's website, the first thing which comes out or pops out of that website is our commitment for Journey for Tomorrow. And very, very briefly, it's a 10-year commitment, preamble, Bible, whatever you want to call it, from the leadership team around how we are going to contribute to business, communities, ecosystem at large when it comes to hospitality industry. And I think in that Journey for Tomorrow, one of the biggest agenda, and that is what, I'm answering the first part of the question which Dr. Gupta asked, how's IG ensuring disability, diversity and inclusion globally? I think one of the first thing is to put it up front on the banner for the rest of the world to see that we are committed towards people and communities. And as part of that particular commitment, we have put it in black and white that we intend doubling gender balance and the number of people who belong to underrepresented minority in our leadership roles and other things in the next 5 to 10 years. And that's a big statement on an overarching goal which we're chasing. And as a result of which, we have now set in place at the global level a whole lot of initiatives which kind of percolate down, whether it is in the form of employee networks. And I'm going to speak a little bit about the overarching umbrella around diversity, inclusion before kind of jumping on to people with disabilities, because at that level globally, DE&I, and we have purposely used the word equity alongside diversity and inclusion to make it an overarching goal for ourselves. We are very, very committed with respect to our commitment towards cultural, religious, or sexual orientation related or background or belief related diversity in our company. And to support that, there are dedicated toolkits that have been developed region by region. And we understand that the understanding or the acceptability or the maturity around acceptance of diversity and inclusion varies across the globe. And when it's a global company, what diversity, equity and inclusion means for an Indian subcontinent will be hugely different from what it means, say, for a US or a Europe or an Australian, teams. And that is where we have developed region-specific toolkits, which kind of dwell upon self-reliance, on independence, on personal development, on social integration of different strata of inclusivity, on financial planning, and also contribution for society. I think, and that purely is structured basis the base level of that region and the maturity of that region, so that we don't want to push down a particular policy or a process which may be a huge success, say in UK, but may take time to land appropriately in India or in some other country. So that's the first and the foremost thing which we have done. As part of the toolkit, there is a clear-cut roadmap which is defined to mainstream people with disability as well. And it basically, like my fellow panelists have said, it dwells upon employability, engagement, enabling, and empowering. And towards that, there is a lot of work which is happening. Apart from that, we have very dedicated employee networks, global employee networks, which are actively encouraged, put on various platforms, put on social media connectivity and things like that, so that they can exchange thought, whether it is around LGBTQ networks or what we call DAWN, which is the Disability and Wellbeing Network, or just to broad base the whole discussion, we also have a network for generational diversity for baby boomers and Gen X. It is called a BBX network. So that's one thing which we are working. So if employee networks kind of work in creating brotherhood at the employee level, there is DE&I boards which have been set up at the leadership level in each of the regions, and these boards exactly work like any board of directors of a company. They are pegged at that level with respect to commitment, accountability, audit, and other activities. And of course, as I mentioned, there are different resources and toolkits which have been developed around this. Coming on to India specific, as I said, we are about 5,000 employees. We're not as evolved as, say, a Lemon Tree is there, and I don't have any shame in saying that we've picked up, we've learned quite a bit from Lemon Tree when it comes to our response towards differently abled colleagues is concerned. I think they're certainly evolved. They are a guiding light in the hospitality industry, and while we do a lot of good work around gender, around sexual orientation and other aspects, a differently able colleague is an area where we certainly can do much more. Our very humble targets are around 2% of the population. We are doing decently well at that. And we actively participate and partner with Sarthak. And one good learning, I think, of the last year and a half has been, and I think my fellow panelists will agree with that, I think indirectly COVID in a way, at least in IAG, I have felt has really built a lot of acceptability with respect to differently able colleagues. There is a general upliftment of the empathy factor of people, and the moment the empathy factor of everyone around in COVID, and maybe it is because of the sufferings, because of what is happening around us, there is a better acceptance of differently able colleagues, their value in the organization and other things. And differently able colleagues certainly have been one hell of a resilient workforce for us. I have a lot of pride in saying that we saw a lot of exodus during wave 1 and wave 2, but differently able colleagues who were part of our system, roughly around 2% of the population, were standing fast with us during these tough times, because it is in their DNA to fight the adversities come what may. And that has given us a lot of confidence to push the DAC agenda with our hotels. Of course, we are an operating company. There is a huge section of ownership buy-in which is required to induct DAC people into our workforce, and owners have different take on differently able colleagues, but we've been able to kind of rope them in this journey so far. We have created, like any other company, key standard operating procedures. There is a sign language orientation for each managers, and very quickly, as our next goals, what we have done, we've done reasonably well to induct differently able colleagues. I think the next goal over the next 2-3 years is to have a far greater representation of differently able colleagues in the supervisory and managerial roles. I think when they start moving up from ground level or associate level colleagues to supervisory and managerial and then leadership roles, I think that is the day when we will really feel proud that our differently able colleagues have been mainstreamed and fully integrated into our work processes. So this is some of the initiatives, some of the actions which we are doing. There is a huge amount of excitement in IHG around diversity and inclusion, around differently able colleagues. Of late, we have been recognized very well in CII and in Helen Keller forums. Some of our GMs have been recognized, and that only boosts our confidence and give us that confidence that we are on the right path and we will do whatever it takes to contribute
You have to
on this
conclude.
particular agenda.
Yeah.
That's about it, Dr. Gupta, from my end. Thank you, just in time.
Thank you. Thank you. I think the most important thing which I could, of course, everything was is wonderful at global level as well as Indian level. But the most important thing which you have shared is, of course, that this small percentage of people from PWD group were standing with you during your COVID-19 when so many other people were leaving left, right, and center. So that is a great encouragement for all of us, for all the employers to listen to, because as we said initially, that it has to be a business case rather than a charity. So I don't think any HR guy would like a better situation than this, that there is a group which is always there with you. So thank you very much for sharing this. Thank you. Now I would like to call upon our next speaker, Ms. Guneet Sethi ji. She is from Chandigarh. She is Director, HRD and CSR at Gillard. She is presiding over HRD and responsible for CSR activities of the company and continuously striving to make efforts to bring positive changes in the immediate society with regard to various social concerns, be it environmental or gender discrimination or lack of equal opportunities for disabled people or other social welfare issues. Guneet ji has been advisory board member, state advisory board member at Chandigarh, and really has been helping a lot at our Chandigarh Training and Employment Center. So we really appreciate that, Guneet ji, and thank you very much for sparing time today. And I would like to ask you a small question that please share your journey of hiring persons with disability in your organizations, and what really inspires you to be part of Sarthak mission and championing the Chandigarh Center as a board member. You are on mute, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Sudhir. And my co-panelists are from big brands and they are making excellent contributions for inclusion of people with disabilities. I congratulate them for their achievements. My company, Gillard Electronics Private Limited, is a small scale unit, but it is very well known in electrical and automotive segment for its professional capabilities and achievements. For sharing my journey or my company's journey in this regard, I'll go back to the year 2012 when I received an email invite from CII to visit a job fair organized by Sarthak in Chandigarh. I went there not with the intention of hiring, but with the intention of experiencing a new kind of job fair. So the experience gave me, mixed feelings of sadness, of distress, of seeing so many people together at one time, at one place, who are facing physical challenges. But at the same time, I also felt strong admiration for them, for being fighters, for striving to get a position in the society where they'll be respected and they'll be financially independent. So it was really impressive and worthy of respect. I realized that we at Gillard were so incomplete in the practical implementation of a claim that we are an equal opportunity provider, because we considered that there will be no bias on the basis of gender. We have 50% of our employees who are women. And of course, no bias on the basis of caste, creed, color. But we were so unaware of or insensitive to this group of the society, we never gave it a thought. So I strongly feel that as employers, we have a moral duty to remove barriers, more barriers to participation, to unlock this potential of people with disabilities. And with this sentiment, with this thought in my mind and heart, I decided to experiment with inclusion, and truly speaking, without calling a board meeting, because I was afraid of apprehensions and maybe rejection of the idea. So I thought I'll take small steps so that no eyebrows are raised. So after 6 months, I received the next invite again from CII for Sarthak job fair. And this was in August 2012. And I visited this time with my HR manager with an intention of hiring. We selected 4 people who had one leg impairment. We had to consider the constraint in accessibility of constraint of the building. So we selected people with one leg impairment, and they cleared the first round of interview. They were called for a second interview the next day. 2 females, 2 ladies, young girls, they turned up for the second round, and both were included, safely kept in office areas, given desktop jobs instead of taking them in production areas. Also, an engineer, hearing and speech impaired, with a degree but no experience since many years after getting the degree, was called, again with the intention of hiring, and I sensitized the QA head, but during the interview, the QA head was really not open to it. And during the interview, she was alone with the candidate, and after the candidate came out of the interview room, I could see a baffled look on his face, and in spite of I confirming him the job, he did not turn up. So I realized the challenges which were there. Inclusion can and does happen when people have positive attitude and are willing to make it happen. So although I always, have been interacting with the teams one day before the differently abled has to join their team, and we have a very good work environment in the company, and people are generally very supportive and open to it, and they welcome such people, which is very, very important. It matters a lot if people down the line are supportive. But in the absence of a documented policy of the company for hiring people with disabilities, resentment from the middle management could be sensed. They somehow in their minds had this thought process that such people cannot perform up to the level of others. And also I realized that the interview should not be conducted by a single person. There should be a panel of people so that personal resentment does not come out during the interview. So learning from experience, I took steps to ensure my HR team is ready to make appropriate changes to the work environment throughout the hiring process and beyond. So one was to provide a flexible but structured policy, hiring policy that works for all. Educate the hiring team to remove conscious or unconscious hiring bias. Then the traditional assessment methods don't work for everyone. So it was important to have a broader perspective in terms of how we evaluate the skills of differently abled. And it's not just about hiring for the sake of it. So we need to think what happens after hiring. To retain the differently abled, we need to give them provide them whatever they need to be successful at work. And trainings and a conducive work environment is very important. And sensitizing all employees at all levels on inclusivity and banishing misconceptions. So my HR team made sure during the hand-holding that they have friends, they have companions, and they don't feel left out, and they are not treated as inconvenience, and they are included for participation in all the events of the company, like the annual function stage performances, the participating in sports on the annual sports day, and other competitions during the year. And they are also included in these special plays made by the company on social issues. So some of them are actors as well, and they are acknowledged, accepted, and recognized for what they are by all Giladians. And they feel worthy of their roles and feel associated. And they have a special privilege to have a tea party with the chairman, which the other Giladians don't get the opportunity to do. And to ensure our differently abled persons do not confront isolation and exclusion, I realized that we need to speak to them also, take their inputs also. So we take their feedback on the work environment they are experiencing. And so, with a structured policy designed for implementation, acceptance got easier at all levels. And when numbers are decided and targets are set, like my other panelists were also mentioned, that numbers are very important. So when numbers are decided as targets, they get monitored and evaluated in routine process. So we had people with hearing and speech impairment, one leg impairment, cerebral palsy, and people with slow learning abilities. I'm so proud to share particularly two cases of two engineers whom we had hired from Sarthak Job Fair. One is a young lady who, after working for 2 years in office area, requested that she be shifted to production shop because she is an engineer and she is doing very well. She's a senior engineer in a molding department. And the other young gentleman who is partially hearing and speech impaired, he is an engineer too, and he is now heading the QA department. And he is leader of the people from whom, after joining, he was initially learning how to read technical drawings. So this is how our journey has been. And your question that what inspires me to be with Sarthak, Dr. Sudhir, if we as individuals have had a fairly good career, a good life, I think we reach a stage where we are mature enough to realize that we need to give back to the society. So I take up various social activities as CSR projects of the company, and at my personal level also, I try to do some of these things. And talking specifically about my connection with Sarthak, I would say it's their honesty of purpose. The ethical working of Sarthak pulls me towards extending my helping hand whenever I'm contacted as a board member for contributing in any way possible. And I used to visit the training center occasionally to interact with students, to share with them what are the expectations of employers and that they need to work hard to come up in life and, generally be good citizens and such things. And I also used to have some light activities with them, like giving them, New Year celebration, Environment Day celebrations, and inviting them to perform on our stage on our annual function. So these kind of things I was doing with them. And post-COVID, all businesses and NGOs, they're facing some issues. And due to some reasons, Dr. Agarwal has taken a decision to shift the training center of Chandigarh, in Chandigarh only, but to a new location. So currently I'm supervising that. And I feel by now many companies have questioned the employment model, and even small scale industries are doing it and are experimenting with different work arrangements. And more companies are coming up with an opinion that a blended workforce works better for the company. And if we give equal job opportunities to all, that's the way to the future. So I hope the Chandigarh Training Center of Sarthak also will again come up as strong as before and will be doing very well. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Guneetji. Thank you very much. And thank you for sharing the step-by-step journey, from hiring the first batch of few PWDs to the present status and taking care of them so very well. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for being here, a very, very active member of the Sarthak Advisory Board. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Now we have very short time, like we have 10 to 12 minutes at our hand, and there are 2 questions from the audience and 1 or 2 questions from my side. So I'll just read all the questions that I think in just few sentences, all of you will be able to answer those or respond to those questions or queries. The first question is, what is the mandate in your company for Indian Sign Language learning? The second is, how often disability sensitization workshops are conducted in your company? And there are 2 things which I would like you to say a few words about when you get your turn. First is that any specific messages or any specific experience regarding COVID-19. The second is that what message you would like to give to PWDs about employment so that they gain more confidence and more faith in the possibility of their getting into the mainstream. And the second is what message you would like to give to the first time employers, those who are, few of them are still fence sitting and few of them have hired 1 or 2 people or something like that. So that initial hiccups which they have to face. So what message you would like to give? So I would like to start with Shobhaji.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you. It was absolutely an afternoon well spent listening to such amazing panelists and hearing some fantastic stories. I was just glued on and listening, and I think thank you so much for enlightening me with all your stories. As far as your first question, I saw from the panel about the number of the training that we do, etc. I don't think we don't have a great head start there. I think we have to do a lot more there. But I think I would like to answer your second question more, which is to say that how has COVID-19 facilitated this? And I think a lot of us in organizations who have offices in metros and buildings and in the infrastructure has been a challenge in some cases to recruit more PWDs. And so I think COVID-19, because the whole world is working from home and work from home as an option is such a viable model. I think here's a great opportunity for us to increase our intake as far as PWD is concerned, because it takes away the challenge of creating infrastructure in existing offices, as well as takes away the issues around commute and challenges linked to that. So certainly, I think in my mind, COVID-19 has been a blessing in a big way for us to really accelerate the journey of hiring PWDs in the workforce, and we are also working on that because a lot of us have found a new way of doing things. So we are actually working on having more gig workforce, more more second-time career women, more retired people in various roles and responsibilities, and of course PWD. So certainly for me, COVID-19 has been a great opportunity to accelerate this, and we are working on this. So Aditya Birla Group is very, very committed to take this up from here onwards.
So your message for the PWDs or the first-time employers, ma'am?
Sorry, no. So as a first-time employer, I think all of us have jitters, and we all know we all don't know whether it'll work or not. I think more than hiring and putting processes and systems in place, I think we got to deal with our own mindset. And my message, and I think having heard at least 7-8 speakers on the call here, everybody has made that start. And from learning from all the great successes that people have had, I don't think one has to hesitate. You need to, and I heard somebody talk about how it is very important to get the leadership commitment. I think if you start from there, you don't have to really worry about, because there will be a false start, there will be ups and downs, but I think stories like Lemon Tree, etc., are extremely inspiring, and I don't think we need to worry about it and just make the first step and move on.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot. Now I would like to come to Aradhana ji. I know you at your place you have a mandate for learning for Indian Sign Language, so I don't think there is a question there. But for you, what about sensitization workshops? How often do you have that? That is also there in place, I know. But how often do you have that? And COVID-19 and your message for especially for PWDs, especially during the COVID times and all.
Okay. Number one, the entire Lemon Tree group speaks English, Hindi, and Indian Sign Language. So that's the first thing. Okay. Second, sensitization is done with respect to deaf, because the highest number of our employees with disability are deaf. So sensitization is done with respect to deaf, and an Indian Sign Language class is held in every hotel twice a month, on the joining of new employees on the 1st and on the joining of new employees on the 15th. In case there are 0 joinings, then they may not hold the class, obviously. They'll hold it when there are joinings. And in the last 1.25 years, we've been on a recruitment freeze. So naturally, the frequency has gone down. I'm talking pre-COVID. With respect to other disabilities, the sensitization is planned periodically. It could be 3-4 times a year in a hotel or across different hotels. Maybe you hold it in one hotel in Gurgaon and you ask the other members to come over to that hotel rather than repeating it. And this is for different disabilities. It could be when we hired acid survivors. It can be when we're running a traineeship for autism or Down syndrome. Every time we bring a new disability to a city or a hotel, we need to conduct sensitization. So it's an ongoing process. In Lemon Tree, it's about culture building. I think one of the panelists did mention culture building, and that's what we do as well, walking the talk, culture building, etc. The third question you asked about was message to PWDs. Now, I know that the COVID year has been difficult, and I saw some messages on the Facebook live, the viewing that's going on right now.
If you can say these words in Hindi, that will be great.
Okay. तो PWDs के लिए जो हमारा मैसेज है, हमने देखा था आपके Facebook के live उसमें, there were some messages where some people who have disability, वो कह रहे थे कि उनको 2, 3, 4, 5 साल से जॉब नहीं मिला. उन्होंने लिखा था कुछ, I think visually impaired थे. So I can understand आपका stress level क्या है और tension क्या है इस मामले में. My point is don't give up. आपको जारी रखना है आपकी खोज जॉब ढूंढने के लिए. सार्थक के साथ बने रहिए. different employers से contact कीजिए, जैसे हम लोग panelists आज बात कर रहे थे. Depending on the disability and depending on the vacancy, कहीं ना कहीं तो आपको option मिलेगा, ऐसा होगा. अभी कोविड के टाइम में थोड़ा सा रुका हुआ है, कई लोग एम्प्लॉयमेंट नहीं कर रहे हैं, रिक्रूटमेंट नहीं कर रहे हैं अभी, बट आई थिंक अनदर 6 महीने में ये थोड़ा बेटर हो जाएगा. तो आप जरूर अपना कांटेक्ट बनाए रखें सार्थक के साथ और अपने दूसरे एनजीओ के साथ भी, प्लस एम्प्लॉयर्स के साथ. सो दैट्स माय मैसेज टू द पीडब्ल्यूडीज. My message to companies that are going into this arena for the first time is that I'm going to borrow a line, and a very well-known line from a wonderful brand like Nike. The line is just do it. I have no other line. I just want to say, just do it. There is a process, there is a model. All of us who are here, the panelists, we are happy to share our process with you. So I am giving an open invitation to any organization who wishes to learn and wants to understand ki inclusion karte kaise hain. Please contact me and contact me through Sarthak. It is okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Aradhana ji. I think that is wonderful advice. That is real practical advice. Thank you so much. That is always the purpose and help whenever you are around. Thank you. Now I would like to ask Mr. Siddharthan about the same questions, of course, about Indian Sign Language mandate in your company, about sensitization workshops, then COVID-19 and messages to PWDs and first-time employers.
Sure, sir. So yeah, I guess mandate as such per se is something that we don't have at this point of time. But yes, we do have a very clear instruction that whenever there is an induction of any of the PWD staff in any of the stores, the store manager has to have gone through the sign language. So that's part of the whole schedule and as part of the model. Yeah, and I think there is going to be a huge amount of support. I think we will reach out to Aradhana ji for the a clear invite that's been given. I think that's a great thing I think we can surely learn a lot from Lemon Tree out over there, especially when structured training programs are there. But however, on the other hand, this is how we have taken it. Secondly, what also is happening is that we have actually given out a lot of our training modules to our skilling partners who are engaged with PWD staff. So that actually helps us a lot. So these are two things that we are currently doing, but I guess there is a lot more that we can do out over there. On the other hand, the question with reference to how the PWD staff are faring during this period of time, sure, it's been a tough thing. But what we have been doing at Reliance is there is a program called Sampark. I'll quickly touch upon that. And through this is a program which we have a connect with every staff every day virtually through the whole period. So what we have specifically been doing is with our staff who have actually quit us and gone, or who are currently at home during quarantine periods, we've been trying to see how we can, the staff who have left us and gone, to encourage them as well as to encourage their family members to say that we are there to take care of them and get them back into the business, get them back into the organization. In this way, we will be also able to ramp up the numbers from where we left to where we are today to go back to the pre-pandemic times. This is something that we've been extensively doing so that we can ramp up the numbers very quickly before we get additional new PWD staffs into the system. So for all those staff who are out over there, or all those PWD candidates who are out over there without a job, I think they should come in as a very, very good message that if they are able to connect with the organizations which are extensively working with PWD staff, I think there are quite a few of us as organizations out over there looking out for them. And I'm sure we will be able to connect and get them on board. So this is the silver lining during this period of time for them at this point of time. And
we will have to wind up.
Just that time. From the organization's point of view, I think they just have to get this thing. They have to just jump into it. I think at some point of time, we all learn it over the period of time, and I guess we will take it as we go by, and that's how we will learn it to manage the people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Priyanka ji, I would like to bring in your message to PWDs and the first-time employers.
I'll just keep it very short. For first-time employers, just get into the journey. Utar ke dekhe and ho jayega. Nothing is impossible. It's just about breaking the myths. Just start it, create processes, leadership ko laiye, and see the business impact. Ho jayega. It'll all happen. And for persons with disabilities, yes, I think the last year has been tough, but of course,
हिंदी में बोल पाएंगे तो बहुत बढ़िया.
बिल्कुल बहुत ही मुश्किल फेज था. I understand that, but बहुत खुशी होती है बोलने के लिए कि हमारे भी more than 95% persons with disabilities हमारे साथ अभी भी बने हुए हैं. हम उनके साथ रेगुलर टच में हैं. उनके वैक्सीनेशन ड्राइव्स के लिए हमने टाइप्स भी किया है जो हमें अप्रोच किए हैं. So persons with disabilities के लिए, so there is a lot of hope. Please approach us. सार्थक को अप्रोच कीजिए, वो हमारे साथ डायरेक्ट टच में है for any employment related issues if you have. तो अप्रोच कीजिए हमें and काम हो जाएगा.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you very much. And Vinay Ji, for the same message to PWDs, अगर हिंदी में बोल पाएंगे तो बहुत अच्छा.
तो आई थिंक मेरे जो फेलो पैनलिस्ट उन्होंने सब कवर कर दिया है. मैं सिर्फ PWDs को यही बोलूँगा कि जिस तरह एक एम्प्लॉयर लीप ऑफ फेथ लेता है, आपको भी उतने ही जोश और हौसले के साथ वो लीप ऑफ फेथ लेनी है इस मेन स्ट्रीम एक्टिविटी में आने के लिए. किसी तरह की हिचक नहीं रखनी. आई थिंक जोश और हौसला रहेगा तो हर चीज मुमकिन है, ये मैं कहना चाहूँगा. और जहाँ तक जुड़े रहने की बात है, आप सार्थक से जुड़े रहिए, कंपनी से जुड़े रहिए. जैसे आराधना ने कहा, अभी कोविड का टाइम है, सब कंपनियां थोड़ी एम्प्लॉयमेंट पे कंजर्वेटिव हैं, लेकिन वो दिन दूर नहीं जब एम्प्लॉयमेंट पूर्णतः खुलेगी और आप सब इसमें आएंगे. और जो PWD को एम्प्लॉय करने के लिए फर्स्ट टाइम मौका ढूंढ रहे हैं, उनके लिए मेरा बस यही कहना है कि आई थिंक 1-1.5 साल में जो हमने 3 बड़े फैक्टर्स देखे हैं एक एम्प्लॉय के अंदर सक्सीड करने के लिए, एम्पैथी, हंगर टू सक्सीड और रेजिलियंस, ये 3 बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट क्वालिटीज उभर के आई हैं पिछले 1.5 साल में. और ये तीनों क्वालिटीज आपको भरपूर मात्रा में PWDs में मिलेगी. तो मैं चाहता हूं कि आपको, जिस तरह हम एम्प्लॉयर हम 2 एस्पेक्ट देखते हैं, स्किल इशू और विल इशू, मैं आपको बता सकता हूं कि विल में आपको कोई कमी नहीं नजर आएगी. इनके अंदर वो पूर्णतः भरा हुआ है. आपको बस थोड़ा सा अपनी इंटीग्रेशन और स्किल के ऊपर काम करना होगा, एंड आई कैन टेल यू you will have a well polished rounded diamond in your company. That is what I wanted to tell.
Thank you Vinay ji, thank you. Puneet ji, your thoughts, your last message.
My message to all the HR people sitting in small and medium-sized companies is that an organization that excludes anyone due to their physical challenge cannot develop a work.
पुनीत जी, हिंदी में मैसेज दीजिएगा फॉर PWDs.
हाँ जी, मैं पहले मैसेज दे रही हूँ फॉर पीपल हु आर HR पीपल स्मॉल और मीडियम स्केल इंडस्ट्रीज में. तो उनको मैं बताना चाहती हूँ कि अगर वो एक्सक्लूड करते हैं फिजिकली चैलेंज लोगों को, अपने वर्कफोर्स में नहीं लेते हैं, तो वह एक अच्छा कल्चर डेवलप नहीं कर पाएंगे अपनी कंपनी में, जहाँ पे कि जो एम्प्लॉयज हैं वो भी फख्र करें कंपनी के ऊपर कि वो उसके साथ एसोसिएटेड है. A work culture that celebrates difference cannot be built up, and there has to be self-reflection, self-criticism if we want to include everybody in. और PWDs के लिए मेरा मैसेज ये है कि हमें मेहनत करनी है. हमें जब हमें जॉब भी मिले तो हमने देखिए, सब कंपनीज जो आपको लेती हैं उनमें इतनी मेच्योरिटी होती है, समझ होती है कि अगर हम ये ले रहे हैं फिजिकल चैलेंज के साथ, तो इनकी जो एबिलिटी है वो क्या है और इनको किस एरिया में लगाना है. इसलिए आप वहां पे पूरी, अगर आप चाहें तो पूरी मेहनत कर सकते हैं और आगे बढ़ सकते हैं. जिस पोस्ट पे आपको लिया गया है, अगर आप अपने वहां पे निखरते हैं तो आपको ऊपर आने का भी मौका मिलेगा. तो हमें सिंपैथी पे, दया पे नहीं रहना है कि हम ऐसे हैं तो हमें थोड़ा कंफर्टेबल भी रखिए. वो डिसाइड करेंगे और आपको उसमें पूरी ट्रेनिंग देंगे और आप अच्छे रिजल्ट्स ला सकेंगे. सर,
थैंक यू मैम, थैंक यू वेरी मच. तो हम लोगों ने जो ये अभी पैनल की सारी पैनलिस्ट की सभी बातें सुनी, so I'm really very thankful to all the panelists for sparing their time, first of all, for this session. और secondly, जो आप लोगों ने अपने experiences बहुत दिल से जो share किए, और जो और employers के लिए as well as जो PWDs के लिए, I think बहुत ही encouragement की बात है. जो जैसा कि वो एक typical फौजी की तरह से हमारे विनय जी ने share किया कि हौसला बुलंद होना चाहिए. तो हौसला, वो जो typical language होती है ना आर्मी की, तो वो language I think is very very important for honorable PWDs. और as he rightly said कि ये सब आपको मिलेगा उनके अंदर, वो जो will मिलेगी, वो हौसला मिलेगा. तो PWDs के लिए जो आप लोगों ने इतना encouragement के words दिए, और जो employers के लिए भी दिए, और सार्थक जैसे के जो सभी लोग आपके साथ काम करते हैं, employment पे काम करते हैं, I think they are also very much encouraged today by listening to your experiences, because ultimately जब सार्थक की टीम काम करती है तो उनका काम यहाँ खत्म नहीं हो जाता कि that they have placed some people. उनका काम तभी खत्म होता है जब वो उनको बार बार ये फीडबैक मिलता है कि जो लोग उन्होंने एम्प्लॉय करवाए हैं, they are doing their job good, और उनके जो एम्प्लॉयर्स हैं they are very happy और they want to hire more people. So इस तरह का जो फीडबैक है, I think that is the most important for any employment team in Sarthak. So thank you very much, all of you. I really don't have words to express my thanks in words. So thank you very much. Just be there for another 2 minutes. I think our Sarthak team would like to give you the virtual mementos. Nishtha ji?
Yes, sir. Vishal, could you please help us with that? So we thank all our panelists for this power-packed session. Aradhna ma'am, Priyanka ma'am, Shobha Ratna madam, Vinay sir, and Siddharthan sir, Puneet ma'am, and last but not the least, Sudhir.
That's a good surprise.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all for such a wonderful
Thank
session.
you,
Look forward to
Aradhna
many
ji.
such
thank you
sessions.
so much. Thank you, Sarthak. Thank you, Dr. Sudhir, and
Thank you so much.
the entire team. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Bhavna.